Well, we have just a couple of minutes to go before the news at the top of the hour, but let's give you just a sip of our Nescafe for our business breakfast segment from the chairman of the Clico Policyholders Group, Mr. Permell, before we continue our dialogue after the news at the top of the hour. Mr. Permell, good morning to you. But a quick comment before we pause for the news. The Prime Minister accusing you and your organization of trying to blackmail the PM to get your way. Your response to that?
Well, first of all, very good morning to you, Fazir, and a very good morning to Trinidad and Tobago, and in particular the thousands of policyholders who I know are locked on listening to, viewing your program this morning. Well, my reaction to that, as you would have seen in the newspaper article, is that that comment, that blackmail comment, was really most unfortunate and regrettable. And it certainly has done the Prime Minister or the People's Partnership government no favors by making that statement. And as a fact, it has made the policyholders even more resolute and incensed, actually, because they are saying that that is really an unfair comment to make with respect to the position that they are taking.
But isn't that essentially what you all are saying? If we don't get we money, don't expect our vote?
No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that it is against human nature, against the grain of human nature for somebody to support somebody who is not prepared to give them what is their right and just due. And we're saying that if we continue along this line, more than likely those policyholders will not get up 6 o'clock in the morning, join a line, a long queue of people to go and stain their fingers for somebody who's treating them in that way. All
right, we'll continue on that point and develop that perspective. Can we automatically assume that the Clico Policyholders Group would have been inclined to vote for the People's Partnership anyway? Is this some bluff by Peter Permell and company? Well, we'll find out. We're going to pause for the news and then move into the second hour of Morning Edition with the continuation of our Business Breakfast Dialogue. The late lamented Penguin giving us some lyrics there, Sedley Joseph. The same name, by the way, as the former national football captain, Sedley Joseph, as well. So one the Calypsonian who passed away, one the footballer who hasn't been in the best of health, Sedley, over the last few months. Hopefully he's doing a bit better, the former national football captain. I wonder if Peter Permell and the Clico Policyholders Group are doing any better since those comments on Friday from the Prime Minister in relation to this question of blackmail and whether or not there's been any clarity as to the position from the Clico Policyholders Group. Good morning again, Mr. Permell, as we continue our business breakfast segment. You've made it clear that it has nothing to do with blackmail from your perspective. Just give us a better understanding of what exactly the issues are here from your point of view and the point of view of the members that you represent.
Okay. First of all, let's go back to the beginning. This issue started, as you know, some years ago.
Yeah. But way back in 2009, yeah, with the whole process of the intervention by the government at the time, and what was then felt to be a situation where policyholders were going to miss out on what they felt were rightfully theirs.
Sure. But the jump-off point for our discussion this morning should be March 27th. 2015. Now that was the day, as you would recall, because the governor of the central bank held a media conference and he invited all the media where he indicated that he was unveiling the CLICO resolution plan. And that is a resolution plan that obviously would have been discussed and is being done in collaboration with the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And at that media conference, he made it very clear that CLICO is now solvent, which means that its assets are more than its liabilities, and the CLICO Statutory Fund, which is the fund that was set aside for situations just like this, when you have policyholders in the situation that they are, to pay those policyholders, that fund is fully funded. Now, subsequent to that, he indicated that the government was going to receive some 85% of what is owed to it, which was working out to be $7.2 billion. $4 billion was going to be paid in cash, which has been paid in cash, and another $3.2 billion in the form of shares, Angostura shares, CL Wilbrand shares, Home Construction Limited shares. And on the other hand, you had 1,500 policyholders who did not accept the government's offer, who are being referred to as the non-assenting policyholders. By now, all those policyholders should have been paid at least 85% of the contractual obligations of CLICO to them, which would mean interest to term plus whatever the break rate was, whether it's 2% until the payout date. Now, and we are very happy for them. We are very glad that they have gotten paid. Another group of people, as you know, would have also been paid, which were the former directors of CLICO, which are referred to as related parties. Now, the payout in that regard was something like to the tune of about $60-something million. And it was just really a handful of people. So you could well imagine the individual amounts that were paid. And as you know, we made a big fuss over that because we are saying that those CLICO former directors should not have been paid until the entire CLICO situation would have been completed, meaning that the Sir Anthony Coleman report would have been in and we would have gotten a report and so on. Be that as it may, what it meant is that they jumped the queue. They got paid before the very people, the 15,000, and I want to stress that we're talking about 15,000 plus policyholders who are being referred to as assenting policyholders. Those are the ones who accepted the government's offer in 2012. Those persons have not yet received what is their rightful due. So we are saying that that is a totally unfair, unsatisfactory, and unjust situation. Now let's fast forward a bit. Before I fast forward, Finance Minister Larry Hawaii, on that same day that the central bank governor had his press conference, he had a press conference later on in the afternoon where he clearly stated that those assenting policyholders are going to be no worse off than the non-assenting policyholders and that they are going to be made whole. When you talk about making people whole in the insurance industry, what you mean is you're paying them their contractual obligation, 100% of what is contractually owed to them. And even I think I saw him in your program recently, and he said he has stuck to that position. He has said yes, the government is committed to that position. However, it's about 5 months hence from March, and to date, we are no closer for any formal documentation or anything being issued to ensure that those policyholders have get the contractual liabilities. As a matter of fact, what we are hearing from the Minister of Finance is that he's waiting on the financials from CLICO and the central bank before he can take a decision, or the government can take a decision to move forward with that. And we are saying that that is absurd, it is unacceptable. Something is obviously wrong. We are not quite sure of it is, but I'm sure we could explore that later on in the interview.
And the issue also being asked is that, are we talking about money from the treasury of Trinidad and Tobago to pay CLICO policyholders?
Excellent question. We are saying, no, we are not speaking about any money from the treasury or from the taxpayers to pay this balance that is due to the assenting CLICO policies. What we are talking about is money from the statutory fund. And as I indicated, the statutory fund is a fund where for every dollar worth of insurance business or company writes, it is supposed to set aside a dollar worth of assets in this fund called the statutory fund. That fund was in deficit in 2009 as the former central bank governor, Mr. Ewart Williams had indicated. But what has happened since then is that those assets have appreciated in value because of the intervention of the government. They put in directors there the central bank would have appointed those directors to manage the affairs of CLICO. Those assets have now appreciated in value significantly. That has now plugged that hole that was in the statutory fund, and they have monetized some of those assets. As you recall, the Methanol Holdings Trinidad Limited, that was sold for about 7.1 billion TT dollars, and therefore the statutory fund has now been made whole. So therefore the statutory fund is fully funded, and therefore the money that we are talking about is not coming from the taxpayers, it's not coming from the treasury, it's coming from the CLICO statutory fund. So we cannot understand why, if there's money in the statutory fund to pay these policyholders, why it is that the government has moved expeditiously, post-haste, to ensure that these policyholders get paid. And the reason why we have taken this position is because you have an impending election just weeks away, and there's no guarantee who is going to be in office after the 7th of September. But at the end of the day, regardless of which government is in office, we are entitled to be paid this money from the statutory fund. It's just that the policyholders would want to ensure that they get their money before the 7th of September.
Do you get any indication that that is going to happen?
Well, the minister keeps saying that they're looking into it. I think at the meeting that I attended, the PLOTT meeting, which is the people...
The Powerful Ladies of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, and interestingly...
And they let you have it good.
And interestingly, all the people there be called plotters, you know.
Yeah.
So, as a matter of fact, I was joking with a friend of mine, I was like Daniel in the lion's den when I walked into that room. There were only a sort of powerful ladies all over there. The most powerful lady in the country was there, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. The only other men, I think, were the camera crew and the security and so on. But that's a little joke I'm making here. But the point is that the minister had said at that, in fact, that function, he said that this week, apparently, they seem to be more closer to getting those financials from CLICO and the central bank, and hopefully, I don't know, they may decide to call us, and I don't know. But that is irrelevant. At the end of the day, the CLICO policyholders met, I think it was last Sunday, not the Sunday gone, it's Sunday before that, yes, at the UE, the Teaching and Learning Center, and they unanimously took a decision, there were over 200 policyholders there, that they are going to withhold their support for the People's Partnership Government and its affiliates.
Isn't that an empty bluff? The reason I put that to you right away, how do you know, yes, that all of these policyholders were even going to vote for the People's Partnership in the first place? Are you en masse People's Partnership supporters?
Sure, let me explain that. Well, first of all, I am the messenger. I'm just conveying the message of the policyholders. Those policyholders are the policyholders, like most of the country, who voted for the People's Partnership in 2010, because that's the only way they would have gotten into office. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons, the key reasons why they voted, that they are telling me, and this is the information they're giving me, why they voted for the partnership is because they thought that Winston Buchanan, you remember that, yes, gentleman, yes, who was touted as this big economist, and he was going to solve the CLICO problem when he became Minister of Finance. They thought that they were going to get a better deal than when the PNM administration was there handling the CLICO matter. Lo and behold, when he came into office, one of the first things he did was to stop the interest on their policies, which meant that senior citizens, people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, who depended on this interest for their livelihood, to buy medicines, to pay their rents and their mortgages and their motor vehicle installments, yes, and so on, got cut off. They had no money coming in. And you know what he also did? He said that the resolution would be zero interest bonds over a 20-year period. How can a guy who's 60 or 70 years wait 20 years to get their money? So what they're saying is that they got cheated. They felt that though they were betrayed in 2010 by this quote-unquote solution to the CLICO problem. And they're not going to make that mistake again. They want to know, whoever government is coming in, what are they doing now to deal with, tell them what they're going to do now, what they're going to do to handle this particular situation. So the point I'm making for Zir is that we can deduce, just based on what they're telling me and the fact that the People's Partnership came into office, that those persons did in fact vote for the, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The only test of that, I'm not a pollster, I'm not going to check to see whether they are in a marginal constituency, what part of Trinidad they are. The only poll, I will listen to Nigel Henry and all the knacks on over, but the only true poll is going to be on the 7th of September. So if the government wants to take the risk and say, we are not going to sort you all out, let us call your bluff. That's the point. I think that's the point you make. Let's call the policyholders bluff.
Peter Permell, and I'm just talking about
we will be around after the 7th. We're not running for election. I'm not running for election. But that is a risk I would strongly suggest to them that they don't take.
And in closing, very, very quickly, because we have just about a minute and a half left, what would you be hoping for, given what has been said, what might appear to be some disappointment or even anger from the Prime Minister as to what the CLICO policyholders have said in relation to this situation? What are you hoping for leading up to September the 7th?
Well, the ball is in their court. The default position is the policyholders have withheld their support. And therefore, the only thing that will get the policyholders to move from that situation is some definitive, whether it's a document from the government saying that this is what is owed to you and this is going to be paid. And
the Prime Minister could say, okay, I'll give all the money, I'll still want to vote me out anyway.
Well, that is her call. As I said, I'm not into politics, but I'm telling you, I can't tell you who they will vote for. That's Nigel Henry, and they do that kind of stuff. But I can tell you who they will not vote for, because as I said, it's against the grain of human nature to vote for somebody who's going to treat you unjustly and unfairly.
Peter Permell, thanks very much for taking the time to join us this morning in our Business Breakfast segment, getting a sense of what is seen by the Prime Minister as an attempt at blackmail from the CLICO Policyholders Group. They are saying, how could it be blackmail if you want to get back money that is rightfully yours? And again, I'm sure the discussion will continue because we've got an election coming up.